Westside Gunn is one. I mean, he paid for the back half of my wrestling training. That was a big moment for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had like $500 left on my wrestling training tuition. Uh, and I tweeted it like, cause I sell merch. Like I would make
Right.
like bootleg WWE shirts, and I was just hustling. Like, shop the website. I got
Yeah.
$500 left to finish paying for my wrestling school, and all of a sudden I hear the Cash App coins drop on my phone. And I'm like, who just cashed at me? And it pops up, Westside Gun sent you $500. I was like, whoa, like.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet.
What's up, y'all? Y'all already know what's going on. The Big Barbie of Women's Wrestling Talk here. And listen, I know we've been doing some crazy interviews with all type of superstars and wrestlers all over the world, but this one is going to hit a little close to home for me because this is my sis, my girl. I'm going to let her introduce herself because she has been making her rounds all over Kentucky and even some in the Midwest. Like, you got to check, you got to check, you got to check this legend in the making. Yeah. Yeah, this legend in the making. But tell the people, for those that don't know, who you are.
I'm the big flexer, Alexis Littlefoot.
Yeah, period. The
Period.
big flexer. Um, we've been acquainted for a while now. I consider you a friend, someone who I love and adore, someone who I've seen wrestle, someone who I just seen cut a promo that we have footage for. Derby City coming up real soon. So whenever that airs on YouTube, we'll post that as well. But welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk. You know, I've been trying to get my sis on for
I know it's been
a
a long,
minute.
long time coming. I'm
Yeah,
really excited. I love what y'all are doing, and I love you. So
I know.
obviously had to come on.
Yeah, well, we gotta get to know you. We gotta, I know you. I feel like I'm still getting to know you in the process as a wrestler, but also a friend and a confidant. With that being said, we want to get to know you outside the ring. So before we get into, the wrestling, we got to get to know Littlefoot a little bit different. So, what song right now do you constantly have on repeat?
Oh wow, that's a good one. Right now it changes because like I
Okay.
be in my different modes. When I'm
Yeah.
on the road headed to a show, it's JT No Bars.
Oh,
That's a banger. Also just like I listen to a lot of R&B in the mornings.
yeah.
I listen to a lot of ESTG in the gym.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really, we talk about it all the time, but I'm really proud of the rap girls right now. Ice Spice,
Yes.
Sexy Red,
Lotto.
Cardi, Lotta.
Party, yeah.
I'm really rooting, and of course Nikki, even though
Yeah.
her antics,
Still.
she's still the queen. Like she's up there, like she's undefeated. She did this shit for a long
Yeah.
time. You gotta give the
Yeah.
legends their flowers while they still here. I don't
That's
like
true.
some of the stuff that she does, but not everybody's perfect. And
That's true.
people have the things that they do, but
Yeah.
I eventually want to get it, and I probably know it will never happen. That I want it to get to a point where Nicki and Cardi clear up all this little petty beef because there's room for everybody. Just like in the rap game, like I consider that really similar to women's wrestling. Like there's room for
Yeah.
everybody in this, and
There
it
is.
shouldn't be the girls coming in scared to pick a side or feel like they
Yeah.
pick a side if they rock with this person or this person. Like it shouldn't be
Yeah.
made to be like that.
I've never told you this, but I'm a little vocal about it. I think that Nicki and Cardi, I think it's all media. I don't think it's a real I don't think it's a genuine. And the reason why I say this is because at Harper's Bazaar, that's when the whole Cardi had the knot on her head.
Yeah,
I don't think I. Oh my god! Like I'm one of those conspiracy theorist kind of person. I just think it was staged.
I think a lot of things in rap are staged, like the
Yeah.
Kanye 50 Cent beef. If anybody
Okay.
remembers that,
Yes.
like I really
106 in
do.
part.
Yeah, I really do think that that was a little bit like album record sales labels, playing a part and playing a role. And a lot of the rap beef back in the day, I do feel like was orchestrated by the labels to try to generate buzz, because back then we didn't have social media. We had the radio and album sales. Like, that's all we had to go off of. Like, we didn't have nothing like that back then. So they have to do something to get people talking and to get people in physical stores to go and pick up and buy these records. Like,
Correct.
and this, now in this society, we have social media, and I think a lot of the fans play too much of a role in the girls rap beef. You
Absolutely.
see the stand pages, the shade room, Hollywood Unlocked, all that type of stuff. They definitely play too much of a role in getting artists to beef, especially the female rappers. But
Yeah.
I just feel like there's room for everybody. There can't just be one person at the top for life. Eventually, Nikki will again get married, have a family, and stop rapping. Like, she's not gonna be 60 years old rapping. Like, it's just, I mean, she can.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll still have her pen, but you know, I think even like in wrestling, there will come a time that you retire. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be taking bumps all your life. At least
Absolutely.
you shouldn't be.
No, you shouldn't be. You talked about traveling earlier. Where are some of your favorite places? I know Miami's a big one for you. You are, I would consider you to be an influencer in your own right outside of the ring. You recently went to Rolling Loud, so I know Miami and other parts of the US are really good to travel. But what's some of your favorite cities?
Miami's definitely top of my favorite cities
Yeah.
list. I go there every year for Rolling Loud. Um, 2018, I believe, was my first Rolling Loud. 2017 or 2018. No, it was 2018 for sure, I think. I've been to so many now. But
Yeah, you have.
was my first Rolling Loud. And shout out to my homie Wilson. Wilson is a wrestling fan. He's part of
Mhm.
the wrestling community, and he blesses me every year with the chance to go to Rolling Loud. And he actually had a hand in that year of WWE being in Rolling Loud. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Carmella and Bianca had a match, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then I think the Street Profits and the Alpha Academy,
Hmm.
maybe? No, was it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Hmm.
And they aired it on SmackDown, I think.
It was aired like it was. I think there were. It was live, but it was like a delay. I think
Right.
that was. But I was there in the crowd. They went on right before Bobby Schmurder's first on stage appearance back since being out of jail. So they had a good spot. They had tons of eyes on them, and it was just beautiful to be there in that moment, because I wasn't even planning to go to Rolling Loud that year, because I had just went to Miami for 4th of July, and that weekend is when they announced that they were going to do it. And I instantly hit my homie up and booked a flight because hotels were still cheap,
Yeah.
pandemic prices. And I was like, yeah, I'm coming back in 2 weeks for that, for sure, because I can't miss that. Rap music and hip hop is something that is near and dear to my heart. And of course, I love wrestling. So I had to get the opportunity to do that. And uh, yeah, I had a real beautiful conversation with Bianca after that, and
Mhm.
Montez, and because after the show, I met up with them, and man, that really pushed me forward into the hustle and grinding, because I was still training back then. But yeah, I love when wrestling and rap music mesh together.
Absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, you have a really close relationship with Westside Gunn as well. He's been very influential with your wrestling career. Talk about that inspiration and how much he means to you, along with the other Black representation that we've seen grow with hip hop and now wrestling.
Yeah, I met Westside Gunn in 2019 at Wale Mania in New
Hmm.
York. Didn't even really know who he was. Like, I knew of him, but I didn't know, like, I had never met him in person. And we had just like clicked. Like, we talked about fashion, and we talked about Buffalo, and he knew where I was from, and it was like, I'm like, how you know where Lexington, Kentucky is? Like, that's random. And he was like, I'm from Buffalo, I live in Atlanta, and driving through, you have to pass through Lexington to get to Atlanta if you're coming from up north. Like, you go through. Detroit to Lexington, and then on to Atlanta. And we just became cool. Like, I'm a, you hang out with me one time and we best friends. Like, that's just how I am with everybody. Like, I just lock in with people and have genuine conversations with people, and uh, making those connections. My brother's in the music industry, so I kind of know how that business works on a little bit on the back end. And I've had friends, Jack Harlow's from Kentucky, Bryson Tiller's from Kentucky. We all came up the same time together, hanging out. And so I've been close to the music industry pretty much all of my adult life since I was 18. So it's really important that I establish those connections and keep those connections going, just because um, I'm really passionate about wrestling, but I know that there are other hustles outside of this, and you got to be smart business wise, because again, you can't bump forever. Like, nobody can bump forever, and that's just something that I've always had in my back pocket, and networking and making connections that way, so I don't have to take bumps out my life.
I like that. What are some like what's some hip hop inspirations that you have that coincide with your wrestling, whether it be gear or the way you talk or the way you walk or the way you move? Who in hip hop really influenced you in wrestling?
Uh, Westside Gun is one. I mean, he paid for the back half of my wrestling training. That was a big moment for me. And
Oh wow.
yeah, I had like $500 left on my wrestling training tuition. Uh, and I tweeted it, like, cause I sell merch. Like, I would make
Right.
like bootleg WWE shirts, and I was just hustling. Like, shop the website. I got five hundred
Yeah.
dollars left to finish paying for my wrestling school, and all of a sudden I hear the Cash App coins drop on my phone. And I'm like, who just cashed at me? And it pops up, Westside Gun sent you $500. I was like, whoa, like,
Wow.
yeah, this is like, and that's like really meaning, like, Westside, he really cares about this. Like,
Mm.
we have a lot of like a lot of rappers that come in and they do cameos, and they do backstage stuff, or they'll do like a quick little one-off collab with WWE or AEW or what have you. But he pays money out of his own pocket to go to shows, pays money out of his own pocket for his homies and everybody around him to go to shows, and be able to enjoy the moment and vibe, and he really cares about wrestling. He's been a long time fan of wrestling, and I'm so blessed to have him as a mentor. So blessed to just know him as a person, outside of rap or wrestling. So that's number one. I had to shout him out because I'm super grateful. I wouldn't be near as close as in the positions that I am without that connection. That's my OG right there. Um, but as far as characters, when I first started training, I still have it on my iPad to this day. I did like a little vision board collage, and all of my collage, and I'll have to send it to you so that way you can use it on this. But it has Megan Thee Stallion on it, the City Girls, Cardi. I'm really inspired by the female rap. I can't lie, like the flexing, the flashiness. Um, Long hair, 40 inches down to my ass, like, you know, might get flown out to Miami, red carpet, VIP, like, that's where I get inspired from. I always said that I wanted to be like a Cardi B of wrestling. Like, everybody loves Cardi B, her personality, she's real, she's down to earth, but when she hits you with that rap shit, she's on it. Like, she got the bars, she got the flow to go with it. Um, and dudes rock with her, the girls rock with her. I just want to be somebody that my people see me and they know what's up. They know it's real. It's not a character 24/7. It's just really the things that I like and myself turned up.
I love that. Cause that's how I am. Like JT's new project, as we talked about earlier, is just I think I don't feel like it's being slept on because it's still getting this thing. But I think people should pay attention to a lot of the women who are coming up and their next projects because I know a lot of people with Ice Spice, many didn't know this, but she was already with a label, and people thought that she was going to be a one-hit wonder. And now we're on Delhi, which is, if not the third, fourth, or fifth like hit she's really put out. So a lot of the young girls, Lotto and Cardi and even Nicki coming back.
Lotto's been on a run right now too.
Lotto has been on a run.
She's been on one of the biggest runs for girls. Even like, I don't think her album translated as good as
Right.
it initially, like when it dropped, it was like, but she turned it around,
Yeah.
dropped new singles, new feature, had some banging features. Like she's definitely, and her stage presence is awesome. I've seen her twice this year.
Mm.
I've seen her once. She opened up for Lizzo. And then I saw her perform at Rolling Loud, because it's different when you performing at a festival versus a tour. So I like to see people in all different mediums um, try to on stage, so that way you can get a good gauge of really how good. And I get a lot of inspiration from seeing people perform. Just a stage presence is a lot. I think that's an untapped tape study that people don't really study for to get a presence walking down the ramp in wrestling. Like I take influence from a rapper's stage presence and try to put that towards my entrance. Like, how would Cardi B walk into the ring?
That I like that, because that shows like your passion for hip hop, and you're tying it into you as a wrestler yourself. But speaking of wrestling, because of course this is Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. Who are some of your inspirations in wrestling, past, present, and even now?
Um, Dang, I have a lot. Past, of course, Melina. She's one of my favorites. Love Jazz back in the day too. So those would probably be my top one and two. From the past. Present, Bianca's on the road. She's on like that new when like new rap girl run. Like, she's in her bag. Like, she's unstoppable. She's so marketable. You can take her out of wrestling and put her in a cricket commercial. She's gonna knock it out of the park. You can take her out of wrestling and put her in Fortnite. She's about to be in Fortnite. Like, you can take the girl out of wrestling and put her in different mediums, and she's still gonna shine. And again, that's something that I stress, because I have a background in marketing. I have a degree in journalism. Like, that's the type of thing. I got my start on social media. Those are the type of things that I was passionate about before I started training to wrestle, that I think people that have been wrestling longer than me don't consider. Because I've talked to wrestlers on the indies and in major companies about it, and they all say the same thing. Like, yeah, that's an untapped thing. Like, I didn't learn this until I got to XYZ, or I'm still learning this as an indie wrestler that's been on the indies for X amount of years. Like, I think more wrestlers of tomorrow, the future of wrestling, needs to get an acting class. Get in an acting class. You're going to need it for promos anyway. Why not? Why not make yourself more marketable? Because at the end of the day, I think that's what companies look for on the back end over the wrestling. They can fix the wrestling. Even me, like, at where I am in a year and a half in, I'm not top notch in the ring. All my matches are not perfect. Like, and I beat myself up about it, but I have other things that I bring to the table on top of the wrestling can get fixed. The time can be put into to fix the moves. But if you don't got nothing else to put on top of that, then you gonna get overlooked every time. That's just how I feel. That's my personal opinion.
I can agree. I can see both sides of the argument. I will say, to your argument, I do think that if you're sometimes just a good wrestler, you're overlooked. Like, if you're just if Bianca Belair was just a good wrestler, if Charlotte was just a good wrestler, if Becky were just good wrestlers, Deanna is one of the greatest technical wrestlers in the world, and that's male or female.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times where I feel like Deanna has been overlooked because she's had to find her character as the virtuosa.
Yeah.
So it's like, I agree with that 100%. I do think that I think it's the argument would be, I think it's 10 times harder for women to do that. Like you can be a man and you could just be no character and you can be, nothing, and you're
Yeah.
one of the best wrestlers in the world, and it just works. But
That's just historically though, because men
mhm,
get opportunities over women in this business. Like
exactly.
that's just how the lay of the land has been
Yeah,
historically. Um, and
yeah,
that's just how the things are. But again, like if I feel like again I bring something else to the table, I'm different, I'm diverse. I have modeling experience. I have acting experience. I've been in commercials.
yeah.
I've been in movies. Like it's different. Like again, like that's something you put on your resume, and people look at that and like, oh, she's media trained. Like
Mm,
that's a
yeah,
big one, especially when these major companies have sponsors that they have to answer to,
true.
basically, or market with. Like, who can I put in this cricket commercial? And they gonna look through. They gonna look.
That's
And it's
true.
not always, if you look at these cricket commercials, it's not always the top stars in the cricket commercials or in the
Right.
Snickers commercials. They're
It's
gonna
true.
bring who has the best character, who has the best mic work. They're not always gonna pick the 100% pure wrestler who's not good on the mic to be in these commercials.
You're right about that. It's all about the PR and the marketing.
Marketability.
Um, you got to be marketable. Speaking of being marketable, there's so many different women's champions now. You have Trinity, the Knockouts World Champion. Sheeta just recently becoming a two-time AEW Women's World Champion. Camille, the NWA World Women's Champion for over 700, almost 800 days. Is there any specific title that you have your eyes on when it comes to any promotion anywhere? WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, just anywhere, even PW Revolver, different places. So
Um, I mean, just to be in a title conversation to me is blessed. I've had
right,
the opportunity to win two championships this year on the Indies at a couple of local promotions, and I treat that as if it was a major. I bring when I have a red carpet opportunity, I bring my titles with me. Like I
yeah,
don't I don't think like any level should be like, oh, that title doesn't mean anything, or it's just
yeah,
whatever. You treat everything as if you were already signed. That's how I go about life. But I love that Trinity is doing her thing. I've
mhm,
been watching Impact a lot more since she's been on the scene. I love that um, she's getting to get back out there, and I've always loved her as well. Um, but yeah, I would be blessed to have any of all three of those titles. To be honest,
yeah,
to be signed to a major company is always a goal. I don't care what nobody says. Nobody does this for no reason.
right,
Uh, so that's always been the goal for me, is to sign to a major company. But of course, every girl wanted to be WWE Women's Champion growing up. So that's obviously number one.
Would you go after Rhea or Io?
Ooh. Mm. I'd probably go after Rhea. Just because I'm a smaller girl, I feel like we'll have a real hard hitting match. Um, I like to get picked up and slammed and stuff, so I think we do a lot of that. Uh, I think with me and EO, we do like a lot of strikes, kicks, um, that type of thing. So I definitely would probably go after Rhea.
Yeah, I like that. Who are some dream opponents? Now they can be people who wrestle now, people in the Hall of Fame, people who don't wrestle. But are there any men or women that you are just like top three? I want to face if I had the opportunity.
All right, well, I've already wrestled two off my list.
Wow.
I wrestled Allison Kay this year, and I wrestled Marty Bell this year. Those are two women that, starting out, I had been researching and looking at, and obviously knew them um, from being on the scene for a long time. Um, but right now, um, Tasha Steele's
Mm,
on my list. Um, Let's see. Who else do I have? Jordan Blade is on my list. I
Mm.
want to wrestle Kaya McKenna again. I wrestled her this past Friday.
Mm.
Definitely want to wrestle her again before the year's up. But signed to companies,
Yeah.
Asuka, Bianca Belair, Trinity, Deanna. Yeah,
That's a list.
that's a big list.
That is a big list. Let everyone know before we get out of here of your shows and bookings, where they can book you and where can they find you in their city. Hopefully, the big flexer comes and bless you with a good
Yes,
old bitch.
I am wrestling all over Kentucky right now. Derby City Wrestling in Louisville is an amazing opportunity. We're on television, so I had my first taste of TV wrestling this year. I'm super blessed to be there. Um, love being there. We wrestle in the West End of Louisville, and if you know anything about Louisville, Kentucky, um, a lot of blackface in that crowd, and I'm super proud of that this year.
Yeah,
To wrestle in front of people that look like me, kids that have never seen wrestling
kids.
before. Um, super blessed to be a part
Yes.
of the team there. I am FEW Women's Champion in Greenfield, Indiana. I wrestled there this coming Sunday, and yeah, just check me out. Social media, Young Littlefoot on all platforms. YUNG Littlefoot, and check me out. I'm doing my thing out here. I can't lie. I've been in my bag the last couple months.
She has. She definitely has. And I've enjoyed it. Of course, you can catch me on Twitter at Nikki Bougie and here on Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.